Hi, everyone, and welcome to this conversation hosted by the Showroom in the frame of Goethe-Institut's project, Echoes of the South Atlantic. My name is Katherine Finerty, and I'm a curator and communications manager at the Showroom in London. And today I'm joined by architect and cultural theorist Blanca Pujals, alongside my colleagues, curator Lily Hall and development manager and lawyer Raúl Muñoz de la Vega, who will all be hosted in this talk by director of the Showroom, Elvira Dyangani Ose. Echoes of the South Atlantic is an initiative that was launched by the Goethe-Institut in 2018 and involves a wide range of projects that all interrogate the potential of Southern transatlantic relations and the future role of Europe. It sets out to explore possible answers through multidisciplinary, multispatial, and multitemporal approaches. It is in this context that the Showroom, in collaboration with Goethe-Institut, conceived Radical Citizenship, which is a year-long transdisciplinary program that will be the focus of our discussion. So today we'll be taking more about activating the program to engage with socio-political, theoretical, and artistic processes for the reinvention of agency and also self-governance within the given environment of our contemporary cities. So I want to thank you all so much for joining, and I can't wait to listen to the conversation that will unfold between you all. So please enjoy, and I'll hand it over to Elvira.
Thank you so much, Katherine. It's a pleasure to be in such a good company. Particularly, I'm very excited for Blanca to join us. An architect that we have very dearly and close to our program, and they had been one of the conveners of one of the projects that we will be discussing today. Perhaps I would like to begin the conversation asking everybody, how are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good as well.
So basically, the main thing that brought us here is an idea and a conversation that I started a couple of years ago with two dear colleagues of mine, Vijay Prashad, a historian, and also Jan Gossens, who is the artistic director of the Festival of Marseille, but also Dream City. And we coincide at the time that I was senior curator at Curatorial Team for a large conversation that we had sustained also with Vijay around issues of planetary thinking and notions of citizenry, right? Like what it means to be a citizen in the world and what it means to have alliances with people far away from us, but also what it means to try to engage and attain projects that radically force us into consider or be aware of social injustices and be somehow agents of change, right? So part of this conversation got us thinking about the possibility of questioning radical citizenship. And I have always thought that the way that the architectural studio Recetas Urbanas operates since more than 20 years has a lot to do with that, no? With creating awareness in individuals and telling us what we can do to not only pass in this life, but also have, let's say, a meaningful impact in it. No? Raúl and I were very lucky and worked with them in the production of the exhibition Usted está aquí, You're Here, which took place in two institutions, in the MUSAC, which was also the producer of this book, but also in the Fundación Luis Seoane, both Spanish institutions. And it compiled 20 years of their practice. And we will unfold aspects of that practice today, but also we will talk to our colleagues in what I hope it becomes the first of a series of case studies in which we engage with projects, unrealized projects, or the potential of a project to continue in a specific manner when things affected it in the way that it should occur. Because radical citizenship in its first instance was a project that, as I said, coming out of this conversation, was aimed to be occupying the program of the Showroom for a year in a sort of events that will unfold in conversation, performance, editorial tables, and other public engagement in our venue. But as you know, pandemic and other restructuring issues around budget make us believe that we could now rethink that project anew and consider other possibilities. Take this chance, let's say, to reconsider how we are doing it. But we thought that it would be interesting perhaps to put together a series of conversations where we will engage with some of the practitioners that we will invite to be part of the project. And such is the case of Recetas Urbanas, which I hope we can have in a follow-up conversation to this one, because they have been probably one of the largest exhibitions in the history of the showroom in its 37 years, since we started it in the 15th of February, 2020, and is still ongoing until December 19 this year. Right? The exhibition that was initially entitled Affection as a Subversive Architecture was after September and after an imminent lockdown around the world, but in particular also here in London. Let's say, subtitle again, unauthorized entry permitted. So affection, subversive architecture, radical citizenship, those heavy loaded words that I had tried to bring together in this sort of like mumbo jumbo run introduction. But I want to take this opportunity to ask my colleagues about exactly that. Now, what issues such as radical or subversion means for you. And the idea is that we will have a conversation around these issues, but also the possibility of bringing into the debate other aspects that are tangential to those. I would love for our guest to begin answering, but the fact is that, as I said, has to be a conversation about curatorial possibilities, perhaps even let's say impactful possibilities in public space and public sphere. And Blanca, your practice has been engaging with that for a long time. So just starting from that, your first thoughts about radicality, radical citizenry, if you want, but also subversion.
Well, yeah, in my practice, I'm always looking at questions of geographies of power and bodies and territories. And in this exhibition at the showroom with Recetas Urbanas, the idea is to bring this kind of radicality and subversion on our shared ideas on how people is removed sometimes and the communities are removed for the construction of their spaces and the city. And we consider this a very important part of architecture, no? Of architecture thinking. I mean, we are technicians in a way that we have some tools that we can give to the community to build and create their own needs and spaces, no? Through the city and all the relationship spaces. And so, yeah, for us, the more radical things, for example, las Recetas Urbanas always do is to self-build the spaces of these people, also just taking care of their needs, and they can build their own self, these spaces. And for us, this is not only building these spaces, but also the community in itself. And for us, this is something that is radical in itself.
Mm-hmm. So radicality as self-governance, as self-engagement, right? And Lily, that has seen the institution of the showroom operating within the context of Charles Street for how many years now?
Well, I guess I sort of first was in touch with the showroom and aware of the program back when it initially moved to the neighborhood in 2009, when it was still sort of in construction, like the transformation of the building from its former use into a gallery space. And then over the years, I then studied and worked elsewhere, but always was aware of the program and following the kind of practice of the organization over that period, and have really followed in that sense the kind of the slow and embedded way in which the team and the organization has connected over those years with groups and individuals in and around the building in the neighborhood. And I think kind of in terms of the process this year of working together with Blanca and with Recetas Urbanas on this project, we've been able to, in a way, sort of start to reconnect with some of those conversations, but also be aware of the extent to which the kind of support structures and infrastructures of public services have been withdrawn successively over the years. I guess since the first economic, or like one of the economic crashes in 2008, successively leading to then to the Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition, and then subsequently the Conservative majorities, leading to this kind of a process of a withdrawal of public services and funding, and how that impacts on the kind of the capacity of those in the neighborhood to feed back in a kind of participatory process of like democratic involvement in the shaping of the city, of the kind of locality. And that's something that I think even last night I was attending a sort of an online version of this kind of neighborhood forum annual meeting, in which there's a really engaged group who've been really like long-term residents in the neighborhood, maybe over 30 years or so, whereas myself and all of us as a team not living within the neighborhood but working there daily, although at the moment being at a remove, kind of from that neighborhood meeting really getting the sense of who it is who's able to engage, who has the capacity to commit and to connect, and to also to be involved in, say, attending online meetings such as those ones, who has access even to the resources of a live internet connection and the language to understand these kind of the really complex nature of the redevelopment that's happening in the area. There's a negotiation between the councils, between the wider kind of City of London, between the Mayor of London, and then government at large. Even myself, I'm always like learning and trying to understand those processes of how policy making then ends up impacting and connecting on the ground, and what kind of feedback loops I myself as an individual might have, and therefore what possibilities might be there for anybody else that we work with.